to it. There's not an inch, a shred of anything to it. There's one quote from one guy who says, well, of course, everyone knows that Love's always wanted to play on the West Coast. Well, I can tell you that now. So somebody go run off and create a story that says, well, on today's edition of the Sports Fix, J-Rock said everybody knows that Kevin Love wants to go play on the West Coast. So that means he's already told the Cavs he's got 1 foot out the door, and they should probably trade him by next Tuesday so that they can get something for him. Make sure you get all of that out of the fact that I said, well, everybody knows Kevin Love would enjoy playing on the West Coast. He's not going anywhere. He wouldn't have wasted his time coming here to Cleveland for 1 year. Now, I understand that I'm not the biggest LeBron James fan. You guys know my issues. Has nothing to do with him on the basketball court. Let's just say, though, he is a star player in the NBA with a lot of star player status. Do you really think that Kevin Love... I'm just saying, people do respect each other, professionals on that level. Do you really think he went through all of that to come here to hang out for 6 months so that he can go? And do you really think that he did all of that and got here and 6 weeks later decided this isn't working for me? We've played 4 whole games. This isn't working. Get out of here. He sat in Minnesota for how long? And after 4 games with Kyrie and LeBron, he decided he wants to leave. If you believe that, brother, please come and buy some of this swampland because my kids need a good Christmas. And I have got literally miles of this swampland to sell you. And you would really be doing me a favor if you help take it off my hands. Dude, I could not believe it. And I feel bad when I say this. I'm not saying this looking down my nose because I say this a lot. I feel bad for the fans, for guys like you guys out there listening, and girls out there listening, because you don't know. And they just go, well, what do you mean I don't know? It's not being said disrespectfully. People do these things in a great way, and they're very good at what they do. And then plus people are quick at reading headlines, like I said, and just taking the headline and then, oh man, did you hear? Did you hear? Did you hear? And of course nobody heard nothing. But man, that Kevin Love story set me off yesterday because I couldn't believe it. It was everywhere. And then I start getting messages. Oh man, J-Rock, see, I told you they shouldn't have traded for Kevin Love. He's already told the Cavs he's leaving. I said, where? Because he hasn't told anybody anything. I called. I asked specifically. Nothing. There's nothing to this at all. Please, guys, if you want to think that there's a possibility that this season could go wrong and Kevin Love could leave at the end of it, yeah, well, that's a possibility. This season would have to go horrendously wrong. The Cavaliers would have to be the biggest failed experiment in history. And getting back to the game last night, I think you guys are seeing that maybe they don't win a championship or not, I don't know, but this experiment is not going to fail. Not at all, brother. You're nuts, Bruce Wood, because this experiment is not going to fail. That to me, that's just a comment that somebody who particularly hates on the city of Cleveland would say. Get out of here with that. The Cavaliers, to me, have already shown in just the short sample size at the beginning of the season that they're beginning to adapt to each other. And Kyrie Irving particularly, and I know this is going to sting some of you that hang out with me in the I'm not the biggest Kyrie Irving fan department. Man, the last 2 games, if Kyrie Irving can, and this is just 2 games, if he continues to play the game that he's played the last couple of days, this Kyrie Irving could be incredibly effective. Incredibly effective. Because, and I hear you, Bruce. I hear you. I'll get back to that. But because, not just the passing, but look at, okay, we know he can drive to the hoop, right? We know that he can, man, one-on-one, he's showing that he's gotten even better this past summer at his dribbling skills. I mean, he's breaking guys' ankles and getting to the hoop. But did you notice yesterday, and maybe he's noticing too, that instead of having to do that whirling dervish 99-mile-an-hour drive every play, man, now when it's there, you take it. And when it's not, you don't have to, and you can go stronger. Did you see on some of those drives in the second half how he was just so fast, fleet of foot, man. He was beating guys down the court. I mean, fast players, and he was beating them down the court. Those and finishing. His ability to finish and maneuver around, I'm telling you, I think the Cavs are just now beginning to get an idea for how to make their pieces mesh together. And I think Kyrie Irving is a good example of that. Look, there's still going to be bad games. There's still going to be arguments and problems, but I know people want to keep looking back at the Heat and how they went together. If you're using Miami as a benchmark for Cleveland, here's something for you to benchmark. It took Wade, Bosh, and James 7 games before all three of them scored 20 or more points in the same game. Cavs did it in 6, about the same amount of time, the first 6 or 7 games there to start to get used to each other. And even then, there's still going to, once you get used to each other, then there's the next level of still making some mistakes, but better. But I think you guys are beginning to see, and I saw some of it offensively especially, what this team really can do when it gets itself going. Of course, the headline's going to tell you that LeBron had his first triple-double since he came back to Cleveland. You know what? I always say this about the triple. You know Kyrie had the only triple-double in Cavs the whole time that LeBron was gone? The whole 4 years, Cavs had one triple-double, and it was Kyrie Irving, and I believe it was March of last season. It was in the second half of last season, all that time. So LeBron gets his first triple-double since his return back to Cleveland. That's going to be what the headline will tell you. But like I'm talking about Kyrie Irving, start with him. Bruce, excellent point in the chat room. That was where I was going to go. Last night, 1 turnover for Kyrie Irving. He's got 4 turnovers here in this stretch to start the season. I mean, that's your point guard. That's who's handling your ball. That's what you want. And that is a big improvement in his game. I told you guys over the summer, I watched a little bit of the FIBA stuff, and I know that that's not the same as the NBA. You know what I'm saying? But you could see some growth in his game. But I think still, it's a work in progress. Defensively, all of that. Although I like the way I saw him at times playing defense last night too. Although what kind of defense can you play on Ryan Anderson? Hats off to him. He shot that one 3-pointer. He's well defended, and he's like 30 feet from the basket. He's practically to the half-court line, and he just makes a jump shot like it's nothing, man. I mean, that's a big guy, and to be able to shoot like that, he was 8 of 12. I'll tell you what, I don't know what New Orleans would have done without him. Ryan Anderson was 8 of 12 from 3 last night, had 32 points. That was really the only help that Anthony Davis had. Davis was tough again last night, too, 27 and 14. But Tyreek Evans, 2 of 14. Drew Holiday, Eric Gordon combined to go 9 of like 24 or something like that. That's not going to get it done, even with a couple of big performances like that. But in many places, I'm liking the improvements in the Cavs defense. Again, you wouldn't think that looking at 111 points, and that's absolutely true. I mean, they let them practically three 30-point quarters. You had a couple of 28s in the first half and a 32 in the fourth there for the Cavs. But, you know, still, the team defense, the rotation, still all of that. You got a whole season for those things to grow together. But if you guys watched last night's game, you saw a lot of these things beginning to piece together. And I'll tell you what, Cavs unable to go very deep. Obviously, you didn't have Dion Waiters, who shook up with the back injury. And this is cool that they got some time to rest up this week so that maybe they can get a little health there. But, I mean, you're shallow on the bench. You got, you know, nothing yet. Garbage time. The box score will tell you that 10 guys played last night, but Kirk and Cherry were out there at the very, very end of it. So you can't even count those guys. I mean, you were 8 deep last night. Joe Harris got his first real meaningful, minutes out there, 20 minutes or so. Tristan, Mike Miller. Again, you had 20 minutes out of Mike Miller. He hit his 1 3-pointer. Offensively, not a lot going there, but just not a lot off the bench there. So you had to get 41 out of Kyrie, 40 out of LeBron. And I don't have a problem with that, by the way. I'm telling you guys, my cutoff is not 39, 40, 41 minutes for these guys. I mean, obviously, you prefer not to do it every single night, but if you do, you do. I mean, people talk like LeBron's, Nate Thurmond, like he's coming out of the, he's Willis Reed coming out of the locker room in the NBA Finals or something like that, man. He's 30 years old. I know he's got some miles on him, but he's 30 years old, and those miles have been well maintained. Think about how well you maintain your car, taking it to the 10-minute oil change. He's been taken to the gold-laced oil change. He's been given the best of the best oil changes, so he's getting a lot of miles on his car. I'm just saying, I laugh sometimes when people talk like, we're maintaining a, 1904, we're maintaining the Model T here or something for the museum. And I said, no, man, that's just a 10-year-old Lamborghini Lamborghini right there. If that thing still can't run, then you mistreated it. And I'm pretty sure that the one thing LeBron James didn't do is mistreat his body. It's his athletic tool. So I always laugh at that. Yeah, you want to maintain, but that's fine. If those three got to give you them minutes, that's fine, especially for now as you're getting things together and when you miss a guy like Dion. And I think Dion's going to add coming off the bench. I told you guys that yesterday. I like it, and I like that he's not just adapting to it, but feeling ownership for the idea. Guys, that's one of the things, by the way, that a good coach can always do. And they used to say this about Phil Jackson. A good coach can always make you feel, or just a good leader, can always make you feel like his idea was your idea. It sounds crazy, but that's the rough and short of it, is that they can make you feel like the idea that they just gave to dealing with egos and stuff. And if you can get, that's how they buy in, because all of a sudden they don't feel like you're telling them what to do. They feel like you're doing their idea to begin with. And I think that's right along the lines of what they've done, convincing Dion Waiters what many of us have felt, which is, yeah, of course you're good enough to start, because Dion gets defensive about that. I'm good. Of course you're good enough to start in the NBA, but you're just even more effective and better at coming off the bench, because your skill set is so much more effective to that, and being able to come off with instant offense, and even more than that, the defense as well. That's big stuff, man. And getting him to buy into it is the key, because you're not going to do it anywhere near as well if you're sulking about it. And I remember what I said yesterday, man. This team's going to come together one way or another, and people are going to be a part of it or they're not. You're either going to figure it out, and the pieces that fit together will stay together, and the ones that don't won't. I mean, that's the reality of it there. The ones that won't. But I think if you guys were worried at all, and I know some people get that way because, they click on their radio dial and they hear bad things from bad people who shouldn't be allowed to talk on the radio, or you hear gloom and doom, or SportsCenter opens up every 15-minute segment with, well, the big three's 1-3 in Cleveland and things are falling apart. You know what I mean? Like, it's not true. But so I understand why you may have been panicked. Don't be. Relax. Again, I'm not sitting here telling you, well, it's in the bag, they're gonna win a title, because that's no guarantee for anybody, but they're going to be a damn good team, and you're going to have a lot of fun watching them, as you saw there last night, because when they get rolling, they get rolling. That run at the end of the third quarter, that is a snapshot of what that Cavaliers team can do. That run at the end of the third quarter there was at 16-1, I believe, or something like that, and they finished it with the turnover and LeBron with the dunk down the other end. Great stuff. Fantastic stuff. And you're really starting to see, too, a little bit of, don't forget, for all the talk, people say, LeBron and King James, he's a great passer. And you can see he's beginning to know where guys are on the floor. He's beginning to know where Kyrie is, beginning to know where Kevin Love is, being able to make some of those no-look pocket passes, different things like that. And I've seen guys. Sean Marion's still not used to playing with LeBron. There's been a couple pocket passes to him that he's fumbled. Even Anderson's got to get used to him again. But you can see already in 6 games, LeBron and the other guys all beginning to learn each other on the floor. It's going to be fun. We knew it would, but now everybody can take a deep breath, because you see. Cleveland, you got to see sometimes with your own eyes, because you've been told, and I get that, you've been told it's going to get better for a long time. Guys, relax. Not only get better, a lot better. This thing has just begun. Last night was a good snapshot of it. Still got a lot of work to do, though, for the Cavaliers. We'll talk some more about them tomorrow. Eddie Jansen from More Than a Fan Cleveland will be with us, and we'll catch up with him and get his thoughts as well. See if he's at the same place I am, or maybe he's seeing things differently. All right, guys, let's take a break. You know what? That wasn't the only hoops game last night either. Well, I'll talk about it a little later on the show. CSU Vikes. It's an exhibition, but they got their season rolling. We'll talk about it later on. But coming up next, Jeff Gorman from Indians101.com is going to join us. I know last year at this time, the AL Manager of the Year had a little more importance here in Cleveland. Does Ned Yost win it tonight? Corey Kluber tomorrow? Can he win the Cy Young? And Jeff put together his list of realistic free agent targets for the Indians that he thinks they should be talking to as we speak. So let's talk a little Tribe, guys. I know, strange but true. We're going to talk a little Indians baseball. Dr. Football Bill Chachkes still to join us. We're going to talk about a whole lot more. Don't go anywhere. And by the way, as you hear some Let's Go Cavs in the background, thought this was pretty cool. I saw this morning. Vince McKee, our friend of the show here, author Vince McKee, he did his latest Cavaliers book. We talked with him about it a week ago here. Cleveland Cavaliers, A History of the Wine and Gold. How about this? Cavs are going to